Sorry about that. My friend came in.
Hi, Krishna.
Yelling and screaming. Okay, Hare Krishna.
And sorry about the delay. I don't know. My computer took 10 minutes to start and reboot.
Okay.
I don't know what.
All right. Do you want to start with the prayers?
Yes. Om Gyanat Timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamahyam Tadaki Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayat Nashtaprayeshu Abhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki.
Okay. Do you want me to read the first verse?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 20, verse 35 and 36, the creation of the fourth order. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Divarshi Pitri Gandharva Siddhacharana Panaga Kinar Pisharasho Marcha Kaga Bhutanias Anekasa Jageshvara Diya Rajna Vajvitanjali Bhakita Sabhajita Vayu Sarve Vaikunta Nugatas Tata. Translation. King Prithu worshipped the demigods, the great sages, the inhabitants of Pitri Loka, the inhabitants of Gandharva Loka, and those of Siddha Loka, Charana Loka, Panagaloka, Kinnara Loka, Apsara Loka, the earthly planets and the planets of the birds. He also worshipped many other living entities who presented themselves in the sacrificial arena. With folded hands, he worshipped all these, as well as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the personal associates of the Lord, by offering sweet words and as much wealth as possible. After this function, they all went back to their respective abodes, following in the footsteps of Lord Vishnu. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. In modern so-called scientific society, the idea is very prevalent that there is no life on other planets, but that only on this earth do living entities with intelligence and scientific knowledge exist. The Vedic literatures, however, do not accept this foolish theory. The followers of Vedic wisdom are fully aware of various planets inhabited by varieties of living entities such as demigods, the sages, the Pitas, the Gandharvas, the Panagas, the Kinnaras, the Charanas, the Siddhas, and the Apsaras. The Vedas give information that in all planets, not only within this material sky, but also in the spiritual sky, there are varieties of living entities. Although all these living entities are of one spiritual nature, in quality the same as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they have varieties of bodies due to the embodiment of the spirit soul by the 8 material elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, sky, mind, intelligence, and false ego. In the spiritual world, however, there is no such distinction between the body and the embodied. In the material world, distinctive features are manifested in different types of bodies in the various planets. We have full information from the Vedic literature that in each and every planet, both material and spiritual, there are living entities of varied intelligence. The Earth is one of the planets of the Burloka planetary system. There are 6 planetary systems above Burloka and 70 planetary systems below it. Therefore, the entire universe is known as Chaturdas Bhuvana, indicating that it has 14 different planetary systems. Beyond the planetary systems in the material sky, there is another sky which is known as Paravyoma, or the spiritual sky, where there are spiritual planets. The inhabitants of those planets engage in varieties of loving service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which include different rases or relationships, known as Dasya Ras, Sakya Ras, Vatsalya Ras, Madhurya Ras, and above all, Parakya Ras. This Parakya Ras, or Paramore love, is prevalent in Krishna Loka, where Krishna lives. This planet is also called Goloka, Vrindavan, and although Lord Krishna lives there perpetually, he also expands himself into millions and trillions of forms. And in one of such forms, he appears on this material planet in a particular place known as Vrindavan Dham, where he displays his original pastimes of Goloka Vrindavan Dham in the spiritual sky, in order to attract the conditioned souls back home, back to Godhead. So interesting verse, this one. Starts off with King Prithu offering his respects and worship to all the living entities. Amazing how he can offer worship to all these entities, but he does that because they came to the sacrificial arena. So he stood there with folded hands and worshipped them. Also, of course, the Lord by offering sweet words and as much wealth as possible. So that's the tradition, that after the sacrifice of this nature, everyone is given praise and worship and also some wealth. So in the purport, Prabhupada mentions all the different various planets inhabited by demigods and sages, Pitas, Gandharvas, Panagas, Kanaras, Charanas, Siddhas, and Apsaras. So there's a lot of varieties of planets and living entities. And Prabhupada reminds us that in the material world, the soul is embodied by material ingredients. And in the spiritual sky, there's no difference between the soul and the body. It's all spiritual energy. So it's embodied by spiritual energy. And he also mentions about the planetary systems. This is Burloka. This is the one of the Earth planets, one of the planets in the Burloka system. There's also 6 planetary systems above and 7 below. So just in this Burloka planetary system, you can imagine how big that is. Incredible size just in one planetary system, the middle planetary system. And we can't imagine the different varieties of planets and living entities on those planets. But we have to take that information from the in the scriptures, because there's no way we can ever conceive of that in our mind. So we have to take the authority of the Vedas to accept that with faith. And Prabhupada also touches on the our relationships in the spiritual world, servant of the Lord or a friend of the Lord, etc. And that the Parakriya Ras is the highest of all those rasas. And that's because the nature of that rasa is that the, the Lord is having very intimate relations with married women. So it's this incredible situation that we can't actually imagine, because according to material calculations, that's, like an unethical thing. But for the Lord, it's the highest rasa. And here it's the most sinful thing. So it's interesting that in the material world, the same thing is actually the most sinful thing, or one of the most sinful activities, and looked upon as something that is to be avoided. But those who are doing those activities, they're just imitating the Lord. They're trying to be the Lord. So by engaging in illicit activities like that, everyone's thinking that I'm the Lord. And I was listening to a lecture recently by Jayadvaita Swami. He talks about envy and jealousy. And we're jealous of the Lord. We're saying, why can't I enjoy like the Lord? Why can't I be like the Lord? Why is it that he only enjoys these pastimes and has all this opulence and strength and intelligence? Why can't I be? Why can't it be me? So that envy is what takes us down here to the material world, and we try to act out those desires to be the Lord. So that's why people do these things. They engage in these simple activities because they're trying, based on the illusion of the body, to be the Lord, to be the controller, to be the enjoyer. So it's completely opposite to the spiritual world. And he was talking about also that sometimes devotees get envious of others who are making more advancement than them. And he said, sometimes you see a devotee who's only been a devotee for a short time and they become very advanced. But in the spiritual world, we're trying to push each other towards Krishna, and we're happy to see them making more advancement than ourselves. That gives us more pleasure than actually making advancement ourselves, is to see that others are making advancement. And we're constantly pushing others towards Krishna for his pleasure, for the Lord's pleasure. We're doing that like the gopis, they introduced Krishna to a gopi, and they're just thinking of the Lord's enjoyment. That's all they're thinking about. They don't care that it's another gopi, and they get jealous of each other. They just want the Lord to be happy, and they're only the center of their life is to make the Lord happy and to give enjoyment to the Lord. So that's our position. We're the enjoyed, and the Lord is the enjoyer. So he's the enjoyer, and we're the enjoyed. So we're trying always, as devotees, we're trying to think of ways how we can please the Lord. And just simply by following the instructions of Srila Prabhupada and the previous acharyas, following those instructions and serving the devotees somehow, that's pleasing to the Lord, because we can't obviously serve the Lord directly, so we have to do that through his devotees. And that's how we can express our love for the Lord, is to serve the devotees and to follow these instructions. Serve the previous acharyas by serving their instructions. In particular, Srila Prabhupada and our spiritual master. So I don't know if I can say any more on this, unless you have something else to say.
Yeah, that's it, Prabhu.
Okay, did you want to read the next? Looks like it's just you and me today.
Text 37.
Mm-hmm.
Bhagavan api rajarishe sopadhyayasya yuta haran iva mano amusya swadhama pratyapatyata. Translation: the infallible Supreme Personality of Godhead, having captivated the mind and priests. Am I muted?
No?
Okay. The infallible Supreme Personality of Godhead, having captivated the minds of the king and the priests who were present, returned to his abode in the spiritual sky. Purport: because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is all spiritual, he can descend from the spiritual sky without changing his body. And thus he is known as Achyuta or infallible. When a living entity falls down to the material world, however, he has to accept a material body, and therefore, in his material embodiment, he cannot be called Achyuta because he falls down from his real engagement in the service of the Lord. The living entity gets a material body to suffer or try to enjoy in the miserable material conditions of life. Therefore, the fallen living entity is Chuta, whereas the Lord is Achyuta. The Lord was attractive for everyone, not only the king, but the priestly order, who were very much addicted to the performance of Vedic rituals. Because the Lord is all attractive, he is called Krishna, or one who attracts everyone. The Lord appeared in the sacrificial arena of Maharaj Prithu as Kshirodakshay Vishnu, who is the plenary expansion of Lord Krishna. He is the second incarnation from Karanadakshay Vishnu, who is the origin of material creation and who expands as Garbhodakshay Vishnu, who then enters into each and every universe. Karanadakshay Vishnu is one of the Purushas who control the material modes of nature. I will read text 38 also. I think they are related, and that will be the end of the chapter. Is that okay, Prabhu?
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, text 38. Adrishtaya namaskritya dripas santarshitatmane avyaktya cha devanam devaya swapuram yayo. Translation: King Prithu then offered his respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Lord of all demigods. Although not an object of material vision, the Lord revealed himself to the sight of Maharaj Prithu. After offering obeisances to the Lord, the king returned to his home. Purport: the Supreme Lord is not visible to material eyes, but when the material eyes are inclined to the transcendental loving service of the Lord and are thus purified, the Lord reveals himself to the vision of the devotee. Avyakta means unmanifested. Although the material world is the creation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is unmanifested to material eyes. Maharaj Prithu, however, developed spiritual eyes by his pure devotional service. Here, therefore, the Lord is described as Sandarshitatma, for he reveals himself to the vision of a devotee, although he is not visible to ordinary eyes. Thus, in the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 4th canto, 20th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Lord Vishnu's appearance in the sacrificial arena of Maharaj Prithu. So, these are the last two purports of the 20th chapter. And Prabhupada is describing that the Supreme Lord was so attractive, he captivated the mind of the king, who is Prithu Maharaj, and the priests who were present, and he returned to his abode in the spiritual sky. And there is a very interesting description towards the end. Prabhupada is saying that who is the exact expansion who came in front of Maharaj Prithu. So he's saying the Lord appeared in the sacrificial arena of Maharaj Prithu as Shirodakshay Vishnu. There is Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshay Vishnu, and Shirodakshay Vishnu. So, who is the plenary expansion of Lord Krishna? He is the second incarnation from Karnodakshay Vishnu, who is the origin of material creation, and who expands as Garbhodakshay Vishnu, who then enters into each and every universe. Shirodakshay Vishnu is one of the Purushas who controls the material modes of nature. So, this is a very, very interesting detail. And Prabhupada, when he would give his purports, he would sit with the commentaries of different acharyas like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Baladev Vidyabhushan, whoever wrote commentaries on Srimad Bhagavatam, he would sit with all their commentaries. And sometimes these acharyas give very interesting insights into what is happening in the past time. So we know that the Lord appeared many times in front of many of his devotees to give them protection. And he appeared in front of Dhruv Maharaj, he appeared in front of Gajendra to give him protection. Many, many times he appears in front of his devotees to show his affection for the devotee and to protect the devotee. So here he is very much pleased by the sacrificial performances of Prithu Maharaj, and he has appeared as Shirodakshay Vishnu. Shirodakshay Vishnu means Paramatma within every person's heart. And who is Paramatma? So in the spiritual world, there is Krishna. From Krishna comes Balaram. From Balaram comes the Chaturvyuha. Chaturvyuha are Aniruddha, Vasudev, Sankarshan, and Pradyumna. And from Sankarshan, again, there are different, again and again, these Chaturvyuha expansions keep expanding until at one point from Sankarshan, Mahavishnu appears. And the purpose of the three Purusha avatars is to maintain the material world. In the spiritual world, there are many Vaikuntha planets, as we discussed in the previous verse. And in all of those Vaikuntha planets, the expansions of the Lord reside and they enjoy pastimes with the devotees. In the material world, these three Purusha avatars, Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshay Vishnu, and Shirodakshay Vishnu, they take charge. And from them, all of creation happens. And the type of Vishnu who of the three Purusha avatars, the Paramatma feature appeared in front of Prithu Maharaj. And in all of many, many places in Srila Prabhupada's purports, there is explanation of how the material world is created by the glance of Mahavishnu over Pradhan, and from that many universes are created. And into each of these universes, there is Garbhodakshay Vishnu who lies in the causal ocean. And and from his navel, Lord Brahma appears. So as many universes are there, that many Kshirodakshai Vishnus appear, and from his navel there is a Brahma for each universe that is created. And then the last Vishnu who appears is Kshirodakshai. In each and every living entity's heart. And here the same Kshirodakshai Vishnu, it's the same Vishnu in everyone's heart. It's not that in my heart there is a different Vishnu and in someone else's heart there is a different Vishnu. It's the same Vishnu who expands and who is in everyone's heart. And that Vishnu appeared at the sacrificial arena of Maharaj Prithu. And the appearance of the Lord is also unique. Prabhupada is describing that when we appear in this material world, by the laws of material nature, we have to take on a material body based on our previous karma. And we are forced to act in a certain way. Prabhupada often would give the example of taking the shape of a dog or taking the shape of a lion. And he explains very nicely in purports of Bhagavad Gita. He says that when we take the form of a dog, like we have to behave like a dog, we have to bark like a dog, we have to sniff like a dog, we have to wag our tail like a dog, so, and eat like a dog. So once we get this material form based on our previous karma, we become entrapped by the modes of nature into such a body, and we have to behave based on that body. So that's why we are called as Chuta. Chuta means fallible. We have to suffer or enjoy the miserable conditions of material life. But Krishna is not like that. He's Achyuta because he can come into the material world in the same spiritual body. He does not have to take a material body to come into this material world. Therefore, he's called Achyuta. He's always beyond the three modes of material natures. He's always beyond the modes, and he's never materially embodied. He cannot be materially embodied. So therefore, he's called as Achyuta. So that is the distinction between the Supreme Lord and the living entities. And the last text is text 38. So after he captivated the hearts and minds of the king and the priestly orders, as Krishna, who attracts everybody, he's so attractive. Everybody is attracted to him. He returns back to his spiritual abode, and Maharaj Prithu, he offers his respectful obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who's the Supreme Lord of all demigods. And this purport, last purport, Prabhupada writes very important devotional principle, which he often shares, that the Lord is not visible by material vision. He is transcendental. He is visible only to the vision of one who is rendering transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord. Actually, this is so true. Like, the more we render service by chanting the holy name, the more we render service to the deity form of the Lord, the more Krishna reveals himself to such a devotee. And therefore, his name is, here he is referred to as Sandarshitam, Sandarshitatma. Sorry. That means he reveals himself by the process of pure devotional service. And this is the whole process of Krishna consciousness, that we render service to the Lord and the Lord reveals his pastimes, his sweetness to his devotees, and the devotee feels protected by the presence of the Lord. He feels uplifted, he feels enlivened by experiencing the spiritual potency of the Lord. So again, sorry for the delay. I don't know like why, but it's a new computer, but it takes so long to reboot every time I have to start it. And yeah, that's all I have to share. So this ends actually the 4th canto, 20th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Lord Vishnu's appearance in the sacrificial arena of Maharaj Prithu. Is there anything you would like to share, Prabhu?
No, I think you covered it very nicely.
Okay, should we stop here then for today and we meet again tomorrow?
Yeah, okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.